right, y'all, time to talk about the top 25 best-selling retro Nintendo games of all time. What do I mean by retro Nintendo games? We're talking NES, we're talking Super Nintendo, we're talking Nintendo 64, and the GameCube. That's it. So let's get right into it, y'all. Number 25, The Legend of Zelda, The Wind Waker on the GameCube sold 4.4 million copies.
Coming in at 25.
Number 24, The Legend of Zelda,
Man.
A Link to the Past on the Super Nintendo sold 4.6 million.
I thought that'd be higher.
When I read that it only sold 4 million, I was a little shocked. I thought this would be one of those ones that was definitely top 10, if not top 5. Number 23, Diddy Kong Racing on the Nintendo 64 sold 4.8 million copies.
That game has a life too.
There is a solid existing fan base out there
for sure
for Diddy Kong, but it sold 200,000 more than A Link to the Past?
That's wild.
I don't know about that. Number 22, Dr. Mario on the NES sold 4.85 million copies. This game right here
has a cult following.
It's like the Mario version of Tetris or some shit. Number 21, Donkey Kong on the Nintendo 64 sold 5.2 million. You know, Diddy Kong, Donkey Kong, and they did an amazing job at 5.2 million. Number 20, Pokemon Stadium on the Nintendo 64 sold 5.4 million.
Big game.
When I started looking into Game Boy games and all that, man, Pokemon was like the top 5 on the Game Boy, Game Boy Advance. All of the Game Boys, Game Boy Color, it was all Pokemon games. Zillions of games sold on Pokemon. Yeah. Number 19, Super Smash Bros. On the Nintendo 64 sold 5.5 million. This is a fun-ass game.
It's a great idea for a game.
Just a fighting game where you beat the shit out of each other.
With your characters you've grown up with.
Number 18, Super Mario Sunshine on the GameCube sold 5.91 million.
Man, Mario's still doing it on GameCube.
Wait till you see all these Marios that are on this list. The amount of money that Mario's brought into Nintendo is insane. Number 17, Street Fighter 2, The World Warrior on the Super Nintendo sold 6.3 million copies.
That's cool.
That's the highest of any of like Mortal Kombat's or Killer Instinct.
Fighting games like
It's the highest fighting game like that on this list. Number 16, The Legend of Zelda on the NES sold 6.5 million copies. This is one of the most legendary games of all time, and it kicked off an epic franchise that is still massive today. One of our favorite games.
Yeah, to me, I could see it being bigger. More.
I'm surprised that it didn't sell more than 6.5. But you got to think, this was early. This was a new game at the time. You know, we didn't know what we know now.
And it was hard. No one was getting this game and like, I beat it in a week.
This was a labor of love.
Yeah.
Number 15, Super Mario Kart Double Dash on the GameCube sold 6.96 million copies.
Man, Mario Kart is still selling.
Mario Kart is an amazing franchise, and if I'm being completely honest, I enjoy playing the Mario Kart games more now than I do the Super Mario games. Number 14, Super Mario Bros. 2 on the NES sold 7.4 million copies. It is the classic reskin of the Japanese Doki Doki Panic. It's the dark horse in the Super Mario Bros. family.
Is.
It's often shit on by people.
It's so good.
We love this game.
Yeah.
Number 13, Super Smash Bros. Melee on the GameCube sold 7.4 million copies. A lot of this list is connected directly to Mario or Zelda, you know. Mario Kart, Super Smash Bros. These people are geniuses. Number 12, The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time on the Nintendo 64 sold 7.6 million copies.
That game was so fun, dude.
It felt different.
That's when I knew what games would be today.
That was a peek into the future.
You're
for
like,
sure.
Oh, I'm really this guy.
Number 11, Tetris on the NES sold 8 million. This is a weird metric here. If you look at the overall sales of Tetris, it's like, I'm not exaggerating, like 80 million or something crazy. That's all on the Game Boy. NES sold 8 million Tetris games, and everyone I know had the game.
Yeah.
You had to have it. It was just a staple. Number 10, and I love it. I love it so much. GoldenEye 007 on the Nintendo 64 sold 8 million copies. It was a groundbreaking multiplayer shooter game, paved the way for many of your favorites today.
Yep.
And both modes are great. You have the 4-player mode where you can chase each other around and shoot each other, which was groundbreaking and developed in only 2 months, by the way. And then the story mode. Both were great. Number 9, Super Mario Kart on the Super Nintendo sold 8.7 million copies. This started everything for the Mario Kart.
the one, bro.
This is the OG.
This is when Nintendo was like, oh, we're getting in the racing game. You want to throw shells? You want to throw bananas?
Yeah, they dropped an iconic franchise on us with that one.
Yeah.
Number 8, Donkey Kong Country on the Super Nintendo sold 9.3 million copies. I thought we were in the future when this shit dropped.
Yeah, Donkey Kong was cool, man.
The commercials were crazy. The graphics were crazy.
Yep.
Even if you look at like Super Mario World, comparatively speaking to Donkey Kong Country, they're not the same.
Yeah, it looked cooler.
Like Super Mario World looks cool. It looks like a better version of the existing Super Mario games. Donkey Kong Country looked like some next level shit.
It really utilized the new system.
It was a precursor to the Nintendo 64.
Yeah, it looked like it could be on 64.
Yo, I'm sitting here editing this video right now and I don't even know what to say. We just flat out skipped number 7. We skipped it. We skipped it. It's not, we don't have it. But it was Mario Kart 64 and it sold a lot. Number 6, Super Mario All-Stars. This one surprised me on the Super Nintendo. 10.5 million copies. I don't know if that's because maybe they launched it with the Super Nintendo, which you'll see here in a minute. There's a game on here that doesn't deserve to be on the list, but it is because it launched.
Well, I can see why that did, because I think it was so far removed that people then got to go buy this game and can play every Mario. It was appealing to in that fact. Like, it wasn't the new shit. And I get this incredibly hard levels.
Yeah, you get the real Super Mario 2, the Lost Levels, which was dope that they released
hard as hell.
Number 5, Super Mario 64 coming in at 11.9 million copies.
We're going to give them 12. That game changed it for me.
That was one of them ones. The graphics can't get any better.
Yep. And it was so different from all the other ones.
Yeah, they reinvented themselves a lot with Mario.
They could have just kept doing the side-scrolling bullshit.
They really took chances.
They were like, watch this.
Yeah. Number 4, the iconic Super Mario 3 on the NES sold 18 million copies, and honestly I thought it would be more, but 18 million is a lot. If you really put that in perspective, that is a lot
on the
of units.
NES.
What can you say? It's Mario 3. Everyone knows.
Self-explanatory.
Number 3, Super Mario World on the Super Nintendo sold 20.6 million, often referenced as the best Mario game of all time. Classic game, the introduction of Yoshi. He was developed for the first 3 games, but they couldn't do him yet because of the limitations of the NES. And here he is showing up on this game and just taking it to the next level. And it looks like Yoshi probably gonna get a movie soon. Number 2, and this is what I was talking about. Number 2, best-selling retro Nintendo game of all time is Duck Hunt on the NES, coming in at 28.3 million copies sold.
They count that every time consoles bought.
The reason why this is number 2 is because everyone has that combo, that Mario Duck Hunt combo. And they also have that Mario Duck Hunt World Class Track Meet combo.
That was later.
You could also buy Duck Hunt individually.
Yeah, that's the cool one.
It's not responsible for those 28.3 million
I
copies.
bet it's drastically different.
Talk about reaping the benefits.
I bet they're not even near this list. Fun game, cool. And
no, not hating on the game.
Like fun, cool, amazing concept,
right.
But it's not my favorite game.
Duck Hunt, you're an imposter on this list, but damn it, you're number 2. Number 1, I think we just gave that away, what that is. The number 1 best-selling retro Nintendo game of all time is the OG Super Mario Brothers on the NES, sold 40.2 million copies. This shit changed the game.
This whole list has this game to thank.
Where would we be without it?
It launched a brand that is still kicking today.
I wish we could run an experiment where you pluck Super Mario Brothers out of gaming and see where everything else went, and if it would have gone there or not.
I mean, look at this list. This is also inflated by that console.
Every time you bought a console, you got a Super Mario Brothers game, but I truly believe it would have been close because it was epic. We talk about those moments a lot where, oh, that's when you knew it changed. But seriously, when you saw Super Mario Brothers on your television in the 80s and you were able to play it sitting right there, it was just a moment and a feeling that could never be recreated. No. Think about that. You'll never feel that again because everything that came after that, even as awesome as the games eventually became on the NES, you kind of expected it after you played Mario that first time, or you understood. There it is, y'all.
Good list.
Top 25 best-selling retro Nintendo games of all time.